So what can you do to dramatically improve your articulation, especially if English is not your first language? Presentation skills are crucial for any aspiring leader, given the various high-stakes situations they are required in. Job interviews, business meetings, interactions with management, and attracting investment. Each of these scenarios is life-changing and often involves a significant amount of stress. There's a compelling quote, often attributed to an anonymous Navy SEAL, that goes, "Under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion. You sink to the level of your training." Many of us believe that when faced with a crucial career-changing opportunity, we'll naturally excel because, well, we know how to speak, we speak daily, we formulate our thoughts. What can go wrong? However, performing exceptionally well without prior preparation is a myth. Mastering a successful presentation relies on your training in several areas. And in this video, we'll focus on one crucial skill: articulation. Fortunately, becoming more articulate is something you can learn and improve on with practice, preparing you well ahead of time for when this big opportunity comes knocking on your door. Let's dive deeper into articulation. What does it mean to communicate with clear articulation? It's fundamentally about the clarity of your pronunciation, making sure that each word is distinct and easily understandable. Clear articulation is basically a commodity. When it's there, it often goes unnoticed, but the lack or absence of articulation can hinder your communication and become an obstacle to an amazing career. So what can you do to dramatically improve your articulation, especially if English is not your first language? Many people try to improve their English by watching content in the language. While that's a delightful approach to immerse yourself in the language and pick up original intonation, it might not be the most effective strategy for improving your articulation, just because it's passive listening, and you need to embrace active learning strategies. I spent 10 years in an international IT company, and I delivered presentations in 3 languages. Naturally, I struggled with my articulation because I never lived in an English-speaking country. So here's a tip that helped me to dramatically improve. Select any book in English and dedicate from 15 to 30 minutes to reading it aloud every day. It's important to articulate with emphasis and more deliberately than you normally would in a conversation. This method is an exceptional way to exercise your vocal muscles and your resonators. To significantly improve your articulation, I recommend not only reading this book aloud, but also record yourself reading it with a default app on your smartphone. And I want to warn you in advance, listening to your voice can be challenging. You will find that your voice sounds differently and that your articulation is much less polished than you imagined. When I was first editing my YouTube videos a decade ago, I was dissatisfied with nearly everything, but I really wanted to improve. And now, after years of creating videos, my speech is much more clearer and much more refined. Remember this, no one talks like a TV anchor in real life, and that's not something you should strive for unless that's what you want. What we want is to develop that magic mechanism inside yourself so that you could turn it on or off as needed. If you're willing to go an extra mile, here's another exercise that will help you to dramatically improve your articulation. I'm confident that you have some speakers you admire. So here's what you do. Select a specific speech. That might be an extract from a TED Talk or an extract from your favorite TV series. If it's a YouTube video, under the video, select Show Transcript. Then click these 3 dots and select Toggle Timestamps. After that, you can download the script. Then you can use a tool like ChatGPT to insert punctuations into the transcript where necessary. So now you have the text of the speech right in front of you. Great. You can listen to the speech multiple times, picking up the right words to stress, the right places to make pauses, and of course the correct pronunciation of each word. Once this stage is completed, play the speech sentence after sentence. Once the sentence ends, you pause and try to repeat it as close as possible to the original intonation and original pronunciation. And for the most courageous, what you can do is just read the transcript out loud, mimicking their original manner. Correct intonation is a vital component of effective communication, and it's closely connected with pronunciation. Intonation is essential because it blends what we say with underlying emotion. It's not merely about the words we choose, but also about how we say them that makes a substantial difference in the listener perception. Research indicates that intonation is a common stumbling block for students learning English. And one of the most popular intonation mistakes with international students is rising intonation in the end of the sentence. What's the difference between these two sentences? We have completed the project. We have completed the project. Which of these two sentences sounds more confident to you? When you use downward intonation in the end of the sentence, it conveys confidence and clarity. On the contrary, the upward inflection may be perceived as uncertainty or questioning tone, which may inadvertently convey a lack of confidence or assurance about your statements. So make sure that unless you're asking a question, you are using downward intonation in the end of the sentence. That's where reading a book aloud also helps. Listening to your recording may help you to recognize these intonation patterns in your speech, and then you might consciously work to adjust them. So you trained, and you've become much better, and here comes the big opportunity that you waited for. It's finally time to deliver your presentation. First of all, if you're not presenting often, create a transcript. And second, rehearse. Because when you're presenting, you place a huge emphasis on what you're saying. And at these moments, we tend to forget about how we're saying it. That's why it's also crucial to practice in advance, because it's not a skill you can acquire in 2 days. Yet that's a skill, and that's a skill you need to grow to a leadership role. Rehearsing your presentation is also an excellent way of training your speed. Both slow and high-speed speech might be hard to follow, so it's important to find your balance. And most often, that requires rehearsing your presentation a number of times. So this small change can make you sound more articulate, clear, and even smarter. Last but not least, before your big day, make sure you sleep well. I know that we talk articulation here, and it's a bit of a different area, but you're convincing when you're energetic. And you're energetic when you've had enough sleep. I mean, you've definitely seen speakers beaming with joy over what they talk about. They radiate energy and confidence, and you immediately want to follow them. And again, this tiny thing can make a big difference. How do you train your articulation when preparing for an important presentation? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. I hope it was useful, and see you next week.